Nigeria police force has disagreed with Amnesty International on the claim of 13 protesters killed in the ongoing End Bad Governance protest in Nigeria, only attributing the killing of protesters to accident and ISWAP terrorist attack, which it put the total death figure at 7 as at day 2 of the nationwide protest, while keeping mum on the reported killings of protesters in Kano State, Kaduna State and Niger State. Nigeria police force, in a press statement issued few minutes ago, indicated that the policeman that was allegedly murdered by protesters, as earlier reported by the Inspector General of Police (IGP) during press briefing on Thursday, had miraculously woken up but in a critical condition at the hospital. The Nigeria police force, in the statement issued on Saturday, indicated that 2 protesters were killed by hit-and-run driver. The statement therefore indicated that the total deaths that may have occurred since the End Bad Governance protest began in Nigeria on Thursday is now 21 as at Friday, the day 2 of the protest, with the exclusion of the policeman, which the police said had woken up. All 21 persons are civilians. The statement stated further that the total arrests as at Friday, the day 2 of the End Bad Governance in Nigeria, is 681 persons, saying some suspects were arrested alongside with AK-47 rifles. The statement, as signed and made available by the force spokesperson, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, reads below in quotes. The Nigeria police force finds it necessary to refute a recent report publicized by Amnesty International, which claims that 13 individuals have lost their lives due to the protests in Nigeria that began on the 1st of August 2024. Amnesty International further alleges that security personnel deliberately employed tactics designed to kill while managing gatherings and used firearms as a tactical tool for protest management. The Nigeria police force wishes to provide an accurate account of incidents from the first 2 days of the nationwide protests. In Borno State, 4 individuals lost their lives and 34 were severely injured in a terrorist attack by suspected Boko Haram, ISWAP elements who infiltrated the crowd of protesters and detonated an improvised explosive device wide. Additionally, an incident occurred involving an unregistered Honda Prelude car that ran into the protesters, resulting in the deaths of 2 civilians. The driver abandoned the vehicle and fled the scene. Although the vehicle was vandalized after the incident, it has been recovered and is currently in police custody. Efforts are ongoing to trace the driver and bring him to justice. There was another incident reported in Yauri local government area of Kebbi State, where a group of individuals mobilized to loot a shop. In the process, a local vigilante man shot and killed one of the looters. The Commissioner of Police in charge of Kebbi State is currently investigating the incident. This brings the total number of deaths recorded during the protests to 7. It is important to state that there were no other recorded fatalities during the protests apart from those mentioned above. However, incidences of armed robbery, arson, mischief, looting of public institutions and private businesses, destructions of both public and private property were recorded during the protests. Arrests were made with respect to these criminal incidences and a number of recoveries made from the suspects while the protest was going on. The Nigeria police personnel deployed to manage the protests have acted professionally, refraining from using lethal weapons. In instances where protesters became rioters, the police employed tear gas to disperse them. Even when our officers on lawful duty were attacked and injured, the police effected arrests using only tear gas, demonstrating utmost restraint. In an effort to combat the trend of crimes and criminality, the police have arrested a total of 681 individuals who committed various criminal offenses such as armed robbery, arson, mischief, and destructions of both public and private property. Dangerous weapons, including two AK-47 rifles and assorted live ammunition, were recovered from the so-called protesters. Additionally, stolen items such as furniture, electronics, phones, other various shop items, and vital infrastructures worth billions of naira were recovered from the arrested persons. Contrary to circulating news, organizers of the protest or protesters were not arrested. Those in police custody are under investigation for clear connections to criminal activities. Furthermore, 9 police officers sustained various degrees of injuries during attacks by protesters. One of them, who initially was reported dead, miraculously survived but remains in critical condition. The ongoing protest has obviously turned violent. We therefore advise law-abiding citizens taking part in the protest across the country to immediately withdraw from it. This advice becomes necessary in view of the violence that has characterized the protest in the last 2 days. It is reasonably expected that peaceful protesters would have withdrawn from the protest that has turned violent. The Nigeria Police Force is committed to providing accurate information and ensuring the safety and security of all citizens during these challenging times. It is essential to recognize that the strategic deployment by the Nigeria Police Force in collaboration with other security agencies and the decisive clampdown on criminal elements exploiting the protests for unlawful activities has been highly effective in quelling tension and curbing the violence and anarchy witnessed on the first day of the protests. During this challenging period, the Nigeria Police Force reaffirms its commitment to performing its lawful duties with professionalism, maintaining law and order, and preventing anarchy throughout the country. The Nigeria Police urges all citizens and residents to disregard unfounded and psychologically manipulative reports circulating about incidents during these protests. We had earlier reported on Friday that over 20 persons, including 19 protesters and 1 policeman, were on Thursday killed in some states as the nationwide End Bad Governance protest began in Nigeria. Most of the dead victims were killed by security operatives as more than 200 protesters were arrested across the country with billions of naira worth of goods and properties destroyed by the aggrieved Nigerians who took to the street following what many called hunger in the land due to the high cost living biting more hard in the country since President Bola Tinubu came into power on May 29, 2023. Since Tinubu came into power, prices of foodstuffs have continued to be on the increased side, apparently due to some political decisions the president took to address the economic situation in the country right from the day he was sworn into power. Videos and official statements from various states in the country on Thursday indicated that 3 protesters were killed in Kano State, 6 killed in Niger State, 3 killed in Kaduna State, 1 killed in Abuja, 2 killed in Jigawa State, and 4 protesters were killed allegedly by bomb explosion in Borno State. Some Nigerians on social media believe the 4 persons in Borno State were killed by security operatives, but the Inspector General of Police (IGP) at a press briefing on Thursday evening said the protesters were killed by bomb explosion. The 4 protesters were killed at Bolori Junction along Baga Road in Borno State. The IGP said 1 police officer was murdered with several others injured by some protesters he described as hoodlums. It was gathered that no fewer than 50 persons in Katsina State suspected to be responsible for the hijack of the protest in the state which led to violence have been arrested by the State Police Command. The State Police Public Relations Officer, Abubakar Sadiq, told journalists on Thursday that the state is relatively calm as the protest has been contained. Nigeria Police Force confirms it had arrested over 157 persons in Kano State. Amnesty International has condemned the killing of protesters allegedly by security personnel across Nigeria, describing the incident as unjustified and unacceptable. Inspector General of Police, Kayode Adeolu during the press briefing said in quote, "Thus it is with great sense of responsibility that I address you this evening. You will recall that upon several indications by various groups of their intent to commence a nationwide protest on the 1st of August 2024, we rolled out several warnings based on actionable intelligence at our disposal indicating that some groups were mobilizing our youth for violent protests with intent to create anarchy in the country. While some groups claiming to be mobilizing for peaceful protests were doing so with violent undertones, refusing to cooperate with the police on measures to be taken to guarantee peaceful protest. On the basis of this intelligence, the police advised that the protest should be shelved at the instant time. Where the organizers insisted on going on with the protests, they were advised to stage the protest in confined locations. This would have enabled the police provide adequate protection for the protesters and isolate the criminals whose intention was to loot and destroy in the name of a protest. This we were doing in furtherance of our duty to protect lives and property and maintaining law and order. While we affirm the constitutional rights of citizens to assemble and express their views on issues of national importance, we were wary about the dangers posed by agitation instigated by some individuals who have shown tendencies to be disloyal to the government of the day. Despite our suspicions, we showed good faith through professional conduct by providing security at strategic locations, all aimed at ensuring peaceful conduct during the protest as the promoters pledged. Our men deployed nationwide went out with a clear brief to ensure that no one is unnecessarily harassed or intimidated. In places where there were court orders, we gave instructions for observance of them. Regrettably, events in some major cities today showed that what was being instigated was mass uprising and looting, not protest. Those who were in the forefront of promoting the idea of the protest were not around to lead it. Hoodlums have been let loose on innocent Nigerians and their hard-earned businesses and property looted and destroyed. The motive of the rioters was basically to loot and destroy both private and government property. The destruction so far has been mind-boggling. There has been destruction in Kano, Borno, Yobe, Kaduna, Gombe, Bauchi, FCT Abuja, Niger, Jigawa. Police stations have been destroyed. There has been attempts to take over government houses, looting of government infrastructures. Several warehouses and shops have so far been looted and, in several instances, completely destroyed. In spite of the refusal of the protesters, for instance in FCT to adhere to a court order requesting that protests in Abuja should be at the National Stadium, they trooped into the streets and yet the police provided security for them. At no point did we breach fundamental rights even as they breached court order. In places like FCT, Kaduna, Kano and Gombe, among others, we recorded incidents of unprovoked attacks on security personnel, where one policeman has been reported murdered and others seriously injured. We alerted earlier on that terror elements may take advantage of the protests to infiltrate the crowd of protesters with suicide bombers. Yesterday in Lagos, our EOD team was informed of a suspected IED on Bank Anthony Way Ikeja. The team responded swiftly and rendered safe what turned out to be an improvised explosive device wide. Today in Borno State, we recorded one incident of explosion which occurred in the crowd of protesters, killing 4 instantly and severely injuring 34 others, many of whom are presently on danger list. We wish to advise law-abiding citizens of Nigeria to heed and not dismiss warnings given by the police and other security agencies which were based on credible and actionable security intelligence. In the light of the current situation, the Nigeria Police Force has placed all units on red alert. Our officers are fully mobilized and prepared to respond swiftly and decisively to any further threats to public safety and order. We remain committed and resolute to protecting lives and property and ensuring that law and order are maintained across the nation. Groups who are hiding under the guise of exercise of a right provided in the Constitution to destabilize the country should remember that the same Constitution imposed on them the duty to obey the laws of the land and respect the rights of other citizens. The police is equipped to respond appropriately to the unfolding situation and will get assistance from other security agencies, including the military if the need arises. We appeal to all citizens to remain calm and cooperate with the police and other security agencies during this challenging period. Your safety is our top priority, and we will continue to take all necessary measures to ensure continued peace and stability in our country. Thank you, the IGP stated. The Director of Mobilization, Take It Back Movement, Damilare Adenola, said the protest would continue until President Bola Tinubu acceded to their demands. The protesters said they are demanding the reversal of petrol pump price to 100 naira per litre, an end to insecurity, the closing of IDP camps and electoral reform, among other things. Adenola said the various orders of court restricting protesters to particular locations are an aberration. Our presence here today is an announcement that we have been oppressed for too long. Today, we have reason. We are saying that unless President Bola Tinubu acceded to our demands, we will remain on the streets. We want to see the president on the streets. During the protest, he was on the streets. One of the organizers of the protest, Michael Lenin, said it would continue on Friday, today, regardless of the intimidation by the security agencies. He told reporters that the protest will continue. We are not intimidated by what the security agencies do. This government does not appear like one ready to listen to the citizens with the way protesters were attacked today. We are resolute until he meets our demands. We will remain on the streets.
Sabuwa Level, bringing you the news in a more digital way.